Not a problem.
I'd like to start the meeting and do we need to approve the minutes? Is that what you said?
That's correct, yeah, and there's one correction to note, Jen Bibb was in attendance on Zoom. And she's not listed in attendance, that is to be updated, so with that change, everything else should be in order, but that's up to you guys.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was the only other member in attendance, so I don't have any changes, Eric or Stacy.
Okay.
Is that a motion to approve?
I will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay. Thanks, guys. There's a little bit of a change here because on the, well, I'd like to introduce a couple of new members. That's not a change. We have one of our new members on board, so maybe if we could do a virtual round robin of introductions, you know, obviously your name, what you do for a day job, you know, that it's just a bit short bio for Kate, and maybe we'll start with Kate, since Kate is the new team member here. She is at a conference, so she's with us in cyberspace. So Kate, I'll just let you kick it off with a little bit of your background. I'm thrilled to have Kate on the EDC. So and she could explain why I feel that way.
Thanks so much, Eric. Hi, everyone. I'm Kate Irvin. I'm the Director of Economic Development for the Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership. So I've been working in the fun world of economic development for the past few years, and then specifically in downtown Pittsburgh for this past year. I'm also formerly a transit person. I used to work for the Chattanooga Department of Transportation before I moved to Pittsburgh. And so I did a lot of work there with public engagement, policy work, and artful infrastructure. So in particular, you know, utilizing our public spaces and frankly, our largest public space, which is our roads, as places of sort of artistic expression and ways of reducing speeding and other kind of traffic issues through kind of artful interventions. And so I kind of took that work and moved from transportation into a slightly broader placemaking and economic development space. So I'm actually at an economic development summit right now with the International Downtown Association. So getting lots of good ideas from communities, big and small across the country. Excited to work with all of you when I get back.
Thanks so much, Kate. And since I'm Senior Commissioner Flynn has joined us, so welcome, Commissioner Flynn. Since I can see all of you up here, I'll just kind of be the MC of direction. And Seth, you're next on the screen, so just a brief intro there.
Hi, I'm Seth Davis. I work as a day job, Pittsburgh Regional Transit as the manager of corridor planning. We are doing a lot of infrastructure changes. I'm also managing our facilities master plan, our first facilities master plan, probably since we built all our garages in the 60s. But prior to that, did a master planning for the Department of Defense, all internationally, domestically. You know, they are communities and cities themselves, so it lends itself well to this. But real passion for mobility, helping draft the Complete Streets policy. And I live in the Lincoln area of Mount Lebanon.
Thank you, Seth. We could move to co-chair Stacy Rybach. Muted. You're muted.
Sorry, I forgot because I was coughing so bad. I'm Stacy Rybach, and welcome. Nice to see you. I've been on the committee. I don't even know. Eric did 5 years. Yeah, I'm Director of Community Affairs for WTA Channel 4. And are you in Richmond? Did I catch that at the beginning? Is that where she said?
I'm in Norfolk right now, but I'll be in Richmond later today.
I let me know if you need. My sister lives there. We go there all the time, and she knows. She's in a nonprofit space, and she knows everyone and everything and all the great places to go. So, sure, she could give you a short list of places not to miss. So
thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Stacy. Let's see, Mr. Moses, I have you next on the, your next contestant.
Sure. I'm Matthew Moses. I am the liaison from the Historic Preservation Board. I am a corporate lawyer downtown at Babs Cowan. Go Kate with the downtown development. God be with you. And I live on Pueblo Drive in the Foster School District with 2 daughters, 2 dogs, and you guys probably see me walking them all day on Washington Road.
Great, thanks, great to have you, Matthew.
Thanks.
See, Jen, you're up next. Can you unmute and just a brief introduction of yourself for the edification of Miss Urban? Okay, maybe she went to grab some coffee. Okay, and then Commissioner Flynn, I'm sure everybody on the call knows you, but in the event they don't.
So I'm Andrew Flynn. I am the commissioner for Ward 5. My day job, I'm a municipal advisor. So I work with state and local governments all over the country on a whole range of matters, whether it's economic development, infrastructure planning, financing, you name it. If it comes to kind of state and local government finances and strategic planning, I do it. So this is not only a hobby, it's also a profession for me. So this is always a good topic.
Great, and we also have a guest, a resident, an attendee. So if the resident would like to make a comment during the meeting, just raise your hand or somehow try to let me know. I'll try to keep an eye on you if you have, in the event you have any questions or would like to raise a point. So I'm Eric Milliron. I think you all know me because I've talked to you all. So I won't belabor the point, but been with the municipality for 15 years and a resident, and I have a passion for economic development, especially when it comes to traditional commercial districts. So this has been a dream job for me, and hence why I've been here for over a decade. So without further ado, we want to talk a little bit about the board and authority transition plan. I sent that to the council as part of the packet. Hopefully you've had a chance to look at it. What I sent was the abridged, abbreviated portion of it. There's some additional background. I can also share a link to the video presentation. The lead staff for this appears to be Ian McMeans, our assistant manager and planner. So at one of the last, I think it was not the last commission meeting, but the meeting prior, he did a run through of the materials that you saw, as well as some additional stuff to make sure that the commission felt that he was, that they were all moving in the direction that they wanted to go. Seeing that it is the direction they want to go, we're going to proceed with what you saw. So I just thought it's kind of important to discuss this. You know, we have 1 year left of the EDC as we know it. And we're going to continue to work on our work plan, obviously, but with a mind's eye towards the future, which is going to be upon us very quickly. And we'll discuss that schedule here just in a second. But you know, we're going to continue working on the things that we're working on that you see on the agenda, and we'll continue to see on agendas. But again, with a mind towards this transition and how that's going to play out, so that we can keep things moving. So without further ado, you know, we've discussed this to some degree, and the commissioner obviously can interrupt me at any time to fill in. But you know, we have a lot of boards and authorities, and I don't want to speak for the commissioner, but you know, I think we're trying to be more efficient with everyone's time and really focus in on the core areas of focus that the commission wants to engage on. And you know, it's difficult. We have, I believe, Commissioner, we had, I think, the most boards and authorities of anyone
In the region.
Yeah, maybe in the Milky Way. So, I mean, we had a lot, and a lot of those were boards and authorities that popped up or were an ad hoc that then morphed into something a little more permanent. I could go on and on. There was various reasons for why we got to a point that we did. But this is a refresh and a refocus. And you can see, what those 5 focus areas are, and just for the edification of our resident on board. We're looking at bucketing all of what we have now, aggregating that into 5: civic engagement, economic development and sustainability / resiliency. That's where I'm going to land, obviously, and I'll be sharing that with another staff person, is my understanding. Greg Wharton, who some of you may know, he's been in some meetings. Financial management, mobility, and parks and recreation. So those are the 5, will be the 5 boards and authorities as of 2024, March 2024. So to try to facilitate this and assist staff and commission, and most importantly, all of you volunteers who stepped to the plate, is what's the timeline and what do we want to do? So I'm not going to walk through it. If you've read the document, you can see what that is. But right now, I want to kind of kickstart us. Let's just call this May, even though it's April, to start thinking about it. Because as you can see in the timeline, August is sort of the first deadline that we want to hit, relate, what our current duties are, tasks, annual activities, so forth and so on. So we're going to be well ahead of that, I think. I mean, again, we're talking about it here in April, but that's really when the rubber starts hitting the road on this transition, summer. So there's that. And November would be the next pin on the calendar, where I would be, all the staff that's involved in this would be creating a document for historical purposes, as well as a smooth transition, detailing how we function and projects that we're working on. And then it continues. I mean, I could go on and on, but there's a lot of dates here, but I think you get the gist of it. There's going to be a series of calendar dates, pins on that date. There may be some changes here with this calendar, but I think this is pretty accurate and what we're going to be targeting. The bottom line is, come March of next year, the EDC will be a memory, and we'll be embarking on continuing to do economic development work, but also broadening that scope to matters of sustainability. And I should also mention, we have a historic preservation board. I think it's my understanding, and is that also will be part of the economic development and resiliency sustainability group. So there's a lot to to digest, weave together. I'm gonna have to work with some of these other boards. I work closely with historic preservation to some degree for various issues, specific issues, same with environmental sustainability, but they really do their own work. So in the next number of months, I'm gonna have to really work, and we're all gonna have to really work at synthesizing what those work plans are and how it all funnels into March of next year. But there's exciting things happening with historic preservation, related to the historic district, which we all are. I'm sure you're seeing the sign toppers, but there's a lot more behind just sign toppers going on. A quick example is, we're working, well, the Mount Lebanon Partnership is working on design guidelines for the Uptown Commercial Corridor for facade grants to encourage appropriate renovations to the built environment there. Sorry, I'm doing a little Zoom management here. So that's one example. While that's a partnership EDC type thing, that type of project is something that I would envision this group next year would be working on, because I'm going to be applying for grants this year at the Commonwealth for facade grants. So that's one example there. Obviously, there's lots of ways that resiliency and economic and sustainability can be woven into the economic development lens. So lots of work to do. So that's that. Then there's some of this administrative stuff regarding transitional seats. You know, if you've read the document, you can see what that is. There are 3 members of the EDC that the commission can consider as a rollover into the new committee. That's Seth, Jen, and Amy. And then there will be new faces as well. You know, we have Kate and we have Mark Trumbull, new EDC members. You know, they would be thrown into that mix. You know, so, and there will be 9 members. So currently the architecture of the EDC is we have 7 voting members. Many of you on the call, with the exception of Matthew, are voting members. The new paradigm will be 9 members. And Seth, I see you have your hand raised. You're muted.
Sorry, my children are screaming in the background. Did you say my name?
Yeah, I saw your hand was raised. I didn't know if you had a question or.
I was, so these are obviously separate from the required boards. What are could you run through the required ones just real quick? There's 5 required ones and these are then advisory on an addition, correct?
Yeah, so like, so there are quasi judicial boards as, you know, would be the required one. So, you know, the zoning, review board is one. So, that stands, you know, apart from this sort of, a refresh. The planning board, civil service.
And I guess my question is, a member can't serve on an advisory board as well as a quasi judicial. Or is that sort of a policy in Mount Lebanon?
To be candid, I can't answer that. I'm not really involved in that aspect of it. I mean, Ian's really the lead, and then I'm also not a solicitor, but I've never seen, in my experience, someone serve on.
Yeah, I'll say it this way. I don't think there is anything that says you can't, but I don't think there is any precedent that says we would.
Sounds good.
So, thanks for the question. So, yeah, so just back to the administrative stuff, there'll be 9 seats rather than 7, and that's to accommodate, obviously, we're gonna have a little bit broader scope. So, you know, that will capture that acumen, that talent pool. And then again, from a staffing perspective, and we can talk about this more as the months tick on. But my current understanding is, you know, I'm still gonna be, unless I get fired or win Powerball or something, and even if I won Powerball, I'd stay. You know, provided I'm still here, I would imagine that, you know, I'll be obviously on this committee, and then again, Craig Wharton, and Craig was hired to really be a focus point, a staff focal point for sustainability type issues. We'll still have to figure out the historic preservation thing. I have a minor in that from college, and it's something I'm interested in. So we'll see how that all plays out. But that's kind of the sausage making of this whole thing. So we'll land, I'm sure, in a very solid place. So, I mean, are there any additional questions about this? You know, I don't want to drone on, and I don't know, and I don't want, you know, I'm sure that the commissioner might have something to add. I just wanted to go through the, you know, sort of just the facts man portion of this. So that if there's any, you know, additional questions or what have you, that would be a good time. And if not, that's fine too.
Obviously, that was a great. Oh, wait, Stacy, you unmuted.
Just in case I had to talk, but I have nothing to say. I'm driving, sorry.
Okay. All right, yeah, I know, and I think I'll just say this. I think we've generally covered it. Yeah, again, yeah, I was largely the one pushing the board realignment. You know, yes, I mean, it seems challenging to some degree to say EDC, historic preservation and sustainability consolidated into one board, but yeah, we really wanted to get to 5 boards. Yeah, again, that administratively makes a lot more sense. And as I was looking at the various, how do you align these various topic areas? This seemed like the most logical. There is clearly separation, but there is clearly lots of overlap in terms of, kind of core purpose. As I think about this more structurally, for me, this is about how do we understand, for argument's sake, the built environment. Again, we want to historically preserve some aspects of this municipality. But we also want to continue to evolve it to be economically vibrant and from a climate perspective, resilient. That is essentially one dialogue with many sub-conversations that need to happen within them. The other aspect of this that I just want to kind of tease out is that we have a work plan now that has various activities, but we probably want to be thinking about not just what we do, but what we think we should be doing. All right, this isn't just a kind of a line where we are, but what should we be discussing more broadly? I tend to think about this in terms of a few key areas. One is policy. What policies do we have and what do we review? What policies should we have and how do we promulgate them? I am personally a firm believer that advisory boards should be a key area where we see policy development occur and proposals happen. Generally speaking, that's not the case. Until I am the liaison to boards and I start pushing boards to do it. So I'm hoping that policy development can be an area that the future board becomes a focus. But then you also have, kind of these specialized areas that, we will want to be really kind of making sure have a place in the future state. Again, depending on the legacy board, these things vary widely. Again, if you think about the civic engagement, they have a residence academy. They do all kinds of other kind of activities that wouldn't align here, but the principle of having some kind of citizen engagement mechanism is an interesting one. I don't know what that would be for this board, but how do we think about kind of these kind of blocks of areas and create space for them in this board, knowing that we are definitely going to want to have subcommittees. Just having 9 people covering all these topics at one monthly meeting is not going to be successful. There's no way. So how do we structurally start creating subcommittees that involve non-voting members to push forward topics or thinking about topics that can come back to a full board for debate, discussion, and ultimately voting. So again, personally, as I think about this, because we are consolidating these boards, it is going to make these meetings much more, call it administrative, because we are going to need to have outside discussion with outside frameworks to bring it here and push it forward. So that's again generally where I'm thinking about this. This is an exercise in the tree has grown. Eric said we have lots of boards. We have 11 of them. They've kind of evolved over time. We are trimming the tree, and we need to get it back in a good stable place, knowing that branches are going to grow again in the future. Things will evolve, but this is a time to say, how do we understand kind of the key areas of focus that the municipality needs to be thinking about as we complete the comprehensive plan? There are going to be areas coming out of the comprehensive plan that are aligned against these 5 areas. So hopefully the comp plan will give some additional structure to the thinking so that we can have more efficient discussions about how do we move the municipality forward and thus the community forward on on all these different topics, because we have 11 boards. We have, I'll tell you guys, one of the most humbling things I ever go through, and I do it each year, is look at resumes from Mount Lebanon residents. Yeah, I always, every time I read through them, I'm thinking, what did I do with my life? Because I clearly failed. Everybody is always so impressive. I don't want to waste people's time. And I think a lot of people generally can get very frustrated with these boards because we're not moving. So how do we create momentum? And that's really where I'm trying to drive this. So that's just my 2 cents on the topic. I really do hope you'll all take some time to think about, the EDC issues, things that we need to be thinking about, and how do we align them. Knowing that this is going to be a dialogue, I'm always happy to talk offline. We don't just have to do this here in this room, but hopefully you'll spend some time thinking about it and brainstorming.
And I'll just, I'm glad the commissioner brought up the comp plan. I think the design of this, the timing of this from a staff perspective is excellent because, as you all know, the comp plan is really going to be our North Star document for the next decade. And so having that fresh input as we launch in this new direction is going to be hugely beneficial. So that we're not just thrown in the pool and told to swim. We're going to have some guidance, from this process. So that'll give us a strong footing as we launch forward. And, mentioning these subcommittees, that seems like a great transition, Co-Chair Stacy Rybach, because we have one that is currently working, born of the EDC, but soon to become leave the nest and become its own advisory group. The mobility committee has really taken off here. And if Stacey, if you're fine with it, we could move to that unless there's any final thoughts or questions about the transition.
No, that's good.
Great. So moving on to mobility, I think the big point out of that, and I think Kate knows this, but we did adopt the Complete Streets policy late last year. So that's great, but that's a policy. What does that mean next? And so we've created the South Hills Mobility Task Force. Seth has been a very active participant and member of that, obviously. And, with his day job and passions. So, we've had a series of meetings. And again, this South Hills Mobility Task Force is not just Mount Lebanon, it's our neighbors to the north, in Dormont, Castle Shannon, Bethel Park. And if I'm forgetting someone, I apologize to that community. But what, we're looking at, to make this simple, for someone that may be looking at this from the outside or not being involved, what are the transportation assets that we share? And there are two primary ones, State Route 19, West Liberty, Washington Road, and then the Pittsburgh Regional Transit Red Line, which many of us in that group share to some degree. So we've had a series of meetings where we've, really just been kind of getting to know one another and hear each other out. And, each community has its own challenges and opportunities. So really just trying to gel the group from my perspective. I don't want to speak for Seth or the commissioner, but from my perspective, these last two meetings have really been just trying to gel the group, hear each other out, see if this relationship works, kind of speed dating, if you will. It seems like we want to take it to the next level. We're going to go on a date. So I think the next meeting we're going to really start exploring that with a focus around, at least from my perspective, how do we want to proceed with embarking on an active transportation plan? Don't want to do it this year because we're in a comp plan, but the active transportation plan is a doer's document. It's not just one of those we're planning again. Are you kidding me? It's really, an important plan. And Seth, I don't know if you want to add anything to that. You're very eloquent about sort of articulating the importance of that, and then maybe I can circle back on where we are.
Yeah, I think, there was commentary when we approved the complete streets policy that doesn't really change the culture of, and how we do things. And really the active transportation plan is putting the policy in place, the framework in place. And I shared it with that South Hills Mobility Task Force, what Hoboken, New Jersey has done. And there's sort of step by step, the complete streets policy is that first step. The active transportation plan or the mobility plan is the next step to really start doing it. And then you start implementing the complete streets policy through the road paving program, through the programs we're already doing, but it now has this new framework and new vision. It doesn't look like the chat's active. I can share it afterwards, but USDOT has a fantastic, it's called Our Nation's Roadway Safety Crisis, but it's a story map through ArcGIS. It really walks through a lot of these things. And when you look at it, our region doesn't pop out like the Sun Belt does for roadway fatalities, but there's another layer to that. Mount Lebanon is an affluent community. We are a walking community from the standpoint we don't have buses, but we have people, the cost of vehicle ownership, the issues that causes for some or not for others is really can be magnified, and it may lend itself to why we don't have higher fatalities, because while we have sidewalks on many streets, we don't have them on all streets. And kind of the same for Dormont, it does have sidewalks everywhere, but if vehicle ownership is high, then usually your fatalities are low, and vehicle ownership is likely high in both communities. So there's some layers to it. It's a really interesting walkthrough of how other areas are dealing with this. But the active transportation plan is putting the vision and efforts forward. And I think the comp plan has weighed out some of those ideas. A lot of people are interested in this changing the dynamic. So excited to push that forward.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Seth, because this isn't just something conjured out of the air. Not only are we seeing in the current comp plan as it's taking real shape and really taking form, a very large response to safe routes. So, whether it's for our children going to school or somebody that chooses a different form of transportation to get from one point to another, the commonality is it's important to a lot of people, clearly. They want to see that. And what I also think is interesting is this isn't a blip in time. If I encourage everybody to look at the 2013 plan. So this isn't just all of a sudden fad thing that people just saw in a newspaper somewhere or what have you and said, oh, hey, let's do this. In 2013, we heard exactly the same thing. So, it's echoing here in 2023. So we do these comp plans every 10 years. So not only are we seeing it again, but it seems as strong, if not stronger. So it begs action, that we do something. And I think the complete streets policy is a strong step in that direction, and certainly more to come. And we're going to see a mobility committee that will then take this ball and run down the field with it. So I promise that'll be my only sports analogy, but it was draft night last night. So anyway. So, that's where we're at. So we're having a meeting next week. Seth and the commissioner both have been excellent at sourcing good information to sort of frame our discussion. So we're not just sitting there popping off about various things, So the meetings are, again, becoming less speed dating and getting to know one another, and now starting to the wheels of action, the wheels of actual projects are turning, and that's pretty exciting. So we think by the time that the new boards and authorities are in place, they're going to have a nice package with a bow on it to work with from these efforts. Any questions for that, on any of this?
Hey, Eric,
Yeah,
did you see, I don't think she's on here. I pulled over. I'm in the Collier Municipal Parking Lot, but there's an email from Jennifer saying that she's not authorized to participate in the Zoom chat, but she can hear us and says hello. So I don't know if you see her or can add her as.
hello, Jen. Yeah, no, she is elevated. She's in the panelist bucket, so she ought to have the same.
Okay,
I see that her camera's off and she's muted. Jen, I don't know if you can hear me. It sounds like you can. I mean, you're in the panelist group. So I don't know if there's something, you know.
okay. I didn't hear listed and I wanted to make sure if you could
Yes,
bring
I
her.
have her, I can see her name.
Sorry.
Sorry, Jen, I don't know. I'll reach out to the president of Zoom after this, get this correct. So, but if you have any comments, Jen, email me, or if you don't, or text me, whatever, and if you can't get on for whatever reason, you know how to find me. Any questions about mobility? We should have a pretty good report in May because of the meeting and some additional things that are going on related to funding of active transportation planning. Cool, all right. Chair, with your permission, we could move to economic vitality. I'll take
Yep.
that. Okay. Thanks. I'm gonna kick this off with a visit that we had last week. So as many of you know, we participate in our designated Main Street program. So we had our friends from Harrisburg here, both Department of Community and Economic Development, as well as an organization called the Pennsylvania Downtown Center. So they do an assessment every other year. So this was what they call the year 3 assessment. And so they spent the day with us. It kicked off with a Mount Lebanon Partnership Board meeting, and then it went into a chunky day of meetings and tours and conversations and questions and lots of other things. The bottom line is, and I'm proud to say this, and it's from really the tireless work of many volunteers and us, including EDC included, we are considered probably the model for the Commonwealth for what we do. And I think we need to hear that. It's important to when you're inside, and I will say the bubble, I think it's easy to lose sight of what we are actually accomplishing and what we are doing. And when you have people come from outside that see many communities, we have over 3,000 in Pennsylvania, not all of which are main streets, of course, but many communities they see. And when you hear that, I think we all should, look in the mirror and say, I'm good enough. I mean, it meant a lot to me, and it meant a lot to the folks that participated in the meeting. And I think it's important to get that message out there, because so often we hear negative things. And that was very positive. So there's still improvement. I'm not saying the work is not done, but the work that we are doing is being recognized and will be supported. So I just wanted to kick that off there with the Economic Vitality Report. We were actually encouraged to continue our participation in this program. I was frankly looking to get out of it because we've been involved in it now for a number of years, but it's a phenomenal program. It's worldwide. If you're not familiar with it, that's a whole other conversation. But it does great work. It creates a great model for what we do, at least uptown right now. So we were encouraged to keep up what we're doing, but also to reapply for a designation in 2 years. That doesn't happen very often. I've been doing this now for over 20 years. And I can tell you, they don't hand these designations out like chiclets. You have to earn it, and you have to work at it. And so thanks to the work of the partnership and you folks for getting us to where we are. So enough of that self-back massage. We're doing a great job. The Economic Vitality Committee has completed a post-COVID audit and assessment of both Uptown and Beverly Road, which are the two primary business arterials. I'm aware of Cochrane and Castle Shannon, but those are the two that most people recognize and are the densest. So that's the ones that we obviously focus on. So the Economic Vitality Committee, the audit is complete. The reports are done. Again, we're in a very strong position, even after COVID, and yes, even during this project. We are seeing business gains, not losses. Unfortunately, Kate, you can not listen to this next bit, but you know, unfortunately, what's happening with downtown, it is a benefit to us. I mean, I'm seeing a lot of businesses, frankly, residents like all of us that may work downtown and have recognized that may not be as essential anymore. And maybe that's not what they want to do. And so they're exploring other options. And one of those options is Mount Lebanon. So, you know, I am receiving a number of calls. And again, I'm not just saying this because Kate's on the call. I do not and will never pirate businesses from other communities. It's just bad ethics and bad karma. So I don't do that. But if somebody calls me, I will have that conversation. So, you know, we're seeing not just an uptick or not an uptick, we're seeing consistent interest in our first floor retail. Beverly Road has 0% vacancy. And let me repeat that, 0 vacancy. Not just on the first floors, but on the upper floors. And not only are they not vacant, they're expanding. So, you know, that's amazing. In Uptown, yes, we do have some vacancies. That's completely and absolutely normal. And frankly, it's a problem to be 100% vacant because I can't get other businesses in here. So, you know, I have a waiting list of both retail and restaurant looking to get in. That's a good problem to have. Additionally, our upper floors are seeing activity. I don't publicly like and won't talk about certain things, but I can tell you right now that there are significant leases executed. They're going to bring additional foot traffic to Uptown coming this summer. So I am ecstatic about where we are right now. Not ecstatic about certain things, which we'll be talking about later on the agenda, but I'm going to be ecstatic about it because those things are wrapping up. And we are positioned in a very strong way going in for the next foreseeable number of years. So I won't dwell on that, but the audit testifies to that. Is there work to be done? Absolutely. We want to see additional vibrancy. But we thankfully were able to weather a couple of storms, a pandemic, as well as some capital improvements, which are a major inconvenience, but have not sunk the ship. So we're going to continue to move forward and we're going to continue to remain positive, and we're going to continue to attract businesses. And I will do my best to make sure not too many of them come from the Golden Triangle. So are there any questions about that? You're going to see that report. The partnership board reviewed it. They paid for that out of their own coffer. They just did that presentation. And then we're going to be linking to that so residents and everyone can see what that looks like. So it not just looks at the number of units that are occupied, but it's looking at who's in those units and what does that add to what is called a vibrancy index, which is a bit subjective, but it's kind of true. An active business district has a lot of third place gathering nodes, so lots of restaurants, bars, taverns. It also has a lot of retail on the first floor. So the easy way to picture it is you come up here to go to East End Brewing and you also buy a vase at Golden Beetle that just opened up, or so forth and so on. So we're trying, that's where we have more work to do. We want to keep enhancing that vibrancy index. So that's really the task at hand. So I don't want to keep droning on. Any questions about that? And I can share the report with anybody that wants to see it before it goes live. As the commissioner knows, we're completely retooling our website. So I've kind of been in a holding pattern till the launch, which I think is in May or June. So there'll be a whole new website, which is way, way, way better than what we have now. And that information will be on that. Any questions on that? Seeing none, we've held off on doing a networking. We used to do these things called meetups, which were just, it was a hip way of saying a networking event. We've held off, one, because of a pandemic, and two, because I'll say it, Vibrant Uptown. So we want to have productive networking meetings, not just people, talking about one particular issue. This project will be done very shortly. So we're looking to bring back those meetups, those networking events. So we're beginning to plan those. We're looking to kick off the first one in the fall. So those things that type of activity will be back, because that's very helpful for the businesses to know one another, what services they provide. And it also is beneficial for me because I know what is going on and what people's concerns are. And it also is an opportunity for new businesses to become part of the community. So we're going to be kicking that back off in the fall. Grants, we are currently working on a design guideline refresh. That is a Mount Lebanon partnership project. It's a $25,000 project. They have contracted, I should say, with Landmarks SGA. So what this basically means is they have done an audit of Uptown for the built environment. So they're looking at facades and where there could be improvements, architecturally sensitive improvements where that makes sense. It just gives us a baseline survey of the architectural features. And yes, we have that from the historic district process, but that was a few years ago. Things have changed. And this has a little bit different lens. So they're doing that. That's one piece of it. The other piece of it is we're going to have a toolkit that we can offer property and business owners when they want to do a facade renovation or get new signage. What really would be best for the entirety of the district as well as their business for marketing and aesthetics. So they'll get that toolkit. And then finally, this is a necessary step to get facade grants from the state. So there's sort of three things there, and that's all three of them. We're going to be having a public meeting on May 13th with this consulting group at 8 a.m. here in the commission chambers. They're going to be going through their results and next steps. I encourage anyone who might be watching this to attend. Residents are welcome. It's geared to, but I'm going to be honest with you, this is geared to property owners and business owners. That's our audience. But anyone is certainly welcome to attend. And information will be shared shortly through socials and all the other gadgetry that we have in the 21st century. But that is coming up next. We're going to wrap that up this summer, and I'm going to be making application to the state for facade grant monies. And you can think of this as sort of Vibrant Uptown Phase 2. The first part is what's going on now. There's other phases, and it's a truly comprehensive Vibrant Uptown process: sidewalks, lighting, conduit, facades, and then our placemaking spaces. More on that later. And then they are also making, and I'm going to shut up here. They are also making, we asked them to make bold recommendations about best practices of central business district zoning, because ours stinks. So they, as part of this package, will be delivering a recommendation, and Commissioner, you can expect this sometime this summer, that'll be going to the municipality saying, these are our findings, these are best practices, here's where you're not hitting it. And I can tell you right now, signage is a big one. Every time I talk to a business that's moving in here, they are disappointed with what our current signage zoning dictates. And that needs to change. So hopefully this is the beginning of that discussion. So a lot to unpack there, but that's happening. And then I'll briefly just mention that we have yes, Vibrant Uptown 2 planning, which will commence when the current situation is substantially complete, which will be very soon. I need a breath. Does anybody have any questions?
I'd love to see the report, Eric, if you've got it, and excited to hear about the zoning recommendations as well. That would be great to see. Just
Absolutely.
what they're putting in there.
I'll share that with the entirety of the EDC. So what I'll share is, I'll share the draft or the memo from, well, one, the guideline memo and the baseline town center report that I discussed before the design guidelines. And then if you have any questions about that, once you take a look at it, just send me an email or call me or whatever you'd like to do, and we'll answer those questions. That's all I have, Stacy, related to economic vitality. Oh, she just texted me. She has a dead patch in Oakdale. So I'll just keep rolling if anybody minds, or we can sit here in silence. Keep going.
Keep
Okay,
going, Eric.
Vibrant Uptown, I'm sure that's of interest to everyone here. I hope, because I certainly have noticed that there's a lot more activity on the street. Yesterday, a very significant flat work piece of concrete was poured by the North Garage, which will essentially open up the entire east side of Washington Road for pedestrian flow without all the zigzags and family circus not walking around. So that's curing. That should open up. The elevator work in the North Garage, bling, that is complete. So the North Garage elevator is working. You can ride the elevator again. The east side should be opened up as early as today. The work on the west side, which is where the municipal building is moving at a very good pace. I do not like to be beholden to schedules because of days like today and things like that. We all know construction is weather contingent. But in terms of staffing numbers, materials being delivered in a timely fashion, all that type of stuff, we seem to finally have some swagger and some movement here. So I'm very hopeful that this project will be substantially complete. When I say substantially complete, in layman's terms, minimal points of conflict between pedestrians and the project within a month and a half, 2 months. There's still some significant work that needs to be done in front of the municipal building, where the ADA accessibility of this building is not great. It's going to be better. That's going to take some time because they have to reconfigure the front of a very active building. So there's still some things to do. I'm not going to lie, but poles are being painted. We're in the last, kilometer of this race. For the most intrusive bits of it, which we can all be thankful for. So, it's moving. We've got a great supervisor. I'll just open up to questions. Does anybody have any questions? Because I get them every day.
No,
Yeah.
I don't. I think, yeah.
I mean, every day, like 7 days. If there's 7 days in a week, there's 7 days of questions. Okay. Vibrant Uptown 2, and also you can always go to the website, Mount Lebanon, Vibrant Uptown. There's a schedule there. We keep it updated as best we can based on what the contractor provides us as by the contract. So that's where you'll find the best information, but you can always call me. Vibrant Uptown Phase 2, that is a planning effort, not a capital project. We're not going to bring bulldozers here when the bulldozers leave. Yeah. So this is a planning effort that's really focused on Parsway, Clearview Common, and activation of spaces that we've just worked on. So for instance, around East End Brewing, we've created through this process a better place to stage events, host a band. East End Brewing already has their table set up, so you can go have a pizza and a pint. We really wanted that to be an active little node. Again, keep in mind, we are on top of a ridge top. It's not flat in Mount Lebanon. So we have to take advantage of every single little piece of flatness. That's one of them. In front of the municipal building also will be a completely re-articulated. So it'll be a much better place for after a commission meeting or a board authority meeting to gather out front. you're gonna have a much better experience there. So the second phase of Vibrant Uptown Plan is really looking at those areas and how do we make them even better, more accessible, a 21st century gathering place. And Kate, you know, I mean, they've done a great job downtown. I mean, Market Square, if you've been down there, that's kind of an example of the notions that we're talking about. You know, how do you make someplace not just a pass through, but a place where you gather and stick around? So that's what Vibrant Uptown 2 is about. That planning will start, frankly, when it makes sense. Because if we have it right now, all I'm going to be talking about is Vibrant Uptown 1. That's not constructive. So we're going to have it when it makes sense. I imagine beginning in the summer, late summer, fall. So that is that. Any questions about those bits? Okay, seeing none, I will continue going here and we may actually get out before 9 o'clock. A commercial districts update. I don't know if you noticed it, but it's now public. The corner pub closed. There were many tears shed. Corner pub is reopening. There are many woots. So the folks that are opening it are the Bakery Square and Federal Gallery gang. If you've been to one of those places, that's who's operating this. That's not too shabby. Let me repeat that. That's not shabby. So they are renovating the space. It's going to be Arthur's Corner Pub. You can review, they have a press release that's out and more information, but I anticipate that it will be kind of a cool space to go for beverages and foodie stuff. So that's pretty exciting. And if you don't know where Corner Pub is, it's on Bower Hill by Caruso's Barbershop. So that is active. That is happening. PNC, the PNC vacancy has a revolving door of people looking at it. There's a lot of interest and lots of due diligence being done. I can't really, there's a lot of non-disclosures about things, so there's a lot of things I can't say, but what I can say is everything I've seen that's interested in that space is definitely going to add to that vibrancy index I talked about earlier. So pretty exciting stuff. Hopefully we can get a lease signed there and add, you know, increase that vibrancy score. And I think all the other stuff I've talked about in previous meetings, but Golden Beetle is open on Central Square. If you have not been in there, please go in. Again, this is one of those signage things. She can't get the signage she needs for people to really see her because she's back deck retail, but it's spectacular retail. So if you haven't had a chance to go visit Golden Beetle, please do so. She has a beautiful shop. She renovated what was not such a great retail spot and turned it into something really spectacular. So you know, she's up and running and looking for your business. And obviously East End Brewing has been open now for about a month. They're doing very well. And I think once this project wraps up, they'll do even better. And they do, yes, they have outdoor seating, and I believe you can bring a dog. That's one of the number one questions I get to the outdoor seat. Dots and Lines on Beverly Road is expanding. They are getting if you're interested in art, or if you have kids or you know people with kids and would like to get them enrolled in art classes, Dot and Line on Beverly Road is the place to go. They do adult lessons, but they do a lot of kids lessons and summer school stuff. They cannot keep up. They are so busy. They're now expanding. They're one of the ones that are expanding. And they just do phenomenal stuff. I've met with the owners on a number of occasions and just amazing talent. I mean, they moved here from New York City. Kate, one of the owners, is Columbia trained, MBA. I mean, you know, these are sharp, talented people that are sharing that talent. So that's another bit of good news. And I could go on, but boy, you know, it's just, anyway. Any questions about any of that? Oh, and the Record and Coffee Shop on Castle Shannon Boulevard, which is close to my heart because that's my hood, is Needle and Bean. Should be opening soon. They're getting their renovations are really starting to pull together. So that's pretty exciting news. And I could go on, but any questions about anything? Rather be just prattling.
Yeah, when are we going to get coffee and records there, Eric?
The day it's open.
Okay,
And I think, I'm sure they have Wi-Fi, so that will be my fourth gathering place. Orbis is my third, this will be my fourth. It may become my third because it's literally a 3-minute walk from my house.
yeah, that's dangerous.
It's very dangerous, and I'm a music fan, as you all know, probably, so I'm gonna have to talk to the commission about a raise or something. Anyway, so that's that. Any questions about anything? Great.
No, I don't think so. You, Eric, I don't know if this is in the EDC, and this is kind of just a request. You had printed out some maps for the mobility task force that had like Dormont and Mount Lebanon, and do those live, like our GIS isn't as publicly available as other municipalities are. Does that material live somewhere where EDC members or others could get a hold of it to manipulate on their own?
Yeah, no, slight correction. It is available. It's probably just nearly impossible to find because our website is so Byzantine. That's going to be one of those things with the launch of the new website. Residents, like for instance, you can get on there right now and see where the water and sewer lines. That's what everybody likes to do on a Friday night. But like if you're doing a project or something. So a lot of those GIS information is available. It's just difficult to get to. So it's one of those things where you have to call our GIS tech guy and say, hey, Mike, I want this, and he'll get it to you. But I believe with the new website, that'll be easier for you to get. Currently, though, it's probably easier to just contact Mike Nisik, who is our GIS staff, or me, and I can get it for you. But in another month or so, you should be able to get onto, any resident should be able to get onto the website. Not access everything. I mean, there's some stuff that's obviously private, but anything that's in the public realm information wise, that's a GIS, it's in our GIS library, ought to be available to you. In an easier way, an easier access point.
Sounds good.
Anything else? I think we may have lost Stacy because she had some dead zone stuff and then and stuff like that. So I guess I'll act as the in proxy chair. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Staff, do we have a second? I think Kate seconded. If she didn't, yes, she did. Any abstentions? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned. Have a great weekend, everyone. If you need anything, give me a call.
Take care, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Good night.
Bye-bye now.